FBI just verified Biden's case. We're paying for Fauci's security, believe it or not. Guys, your taxpayers are just getting raided. More drugs found. And I say your taxpayer dollars, but it's really my taxpayer dollars as well. So my family and I, we take budgeting very seriously, from checking our own cash flow to figuring out what investment opportunities can be made during a particular time, to making sure that our taxes are paid, right? Part of being financially literate is understanding where your money actually goes. But being in this kind of field, where I go out and I look at what's happening all around us, there is one story that I regret reading, although it's one that we should all know about. What are the chances that Dr. Anthony Fauci is still using taxpayer dollars? You got any guesses? Now check this out, guys. How would you all feel? And I really want you guys to take this all in for a second. How would you feel knowing that your taxpayer money that you earned and then was basically siphoned out of your paycheck, is now paying for the security detail of retired NIAID director Dr. Anthony Fauci?
So now we've proven that Dr. Fauci is getting around-the-clock security provided by the U.S. Marshals. That means they station someone outside his house, the limousines take him wherever he needs to go to the airport. Why, if he's not in government anymore, would he get this?
So we've been hearing these rumors. He announced his retirement, and then somebody said, oh, well, he still comes into the office periodically, and he still has his security detail. And we're like, how come? He's no longer working. So we asked HHS early in the summer, we said, is he still working? And does he have this limo? And does he have a driver? And does he have a security detail? Well, HHS actually came back to us and said they haven't been paying for it since January. But then we discovered that Fox did a Freedom of Information Act, and a judge forced them to say that, well, while HHS wasn't directly funding it, the U.S. Marshals were funding it. So can you imagine, we asked the government, are you funding his limo and his driver and his security detail? And they say, oh, we're not doing it. Oh, but somebody else is doing it, and then we're reimbursing them.
Now, if you ask Senator Rand Paul about it, well, he's not all that happy about it. Now, he even says that the only retired official that he could think of that actually gets this kind of treatment is a former president. So why is Dr. Anthony Fauci getting the same treatment as a former president? Well, Fauci's wealth only increased by 30% during the health crisis. So I guess he needs a little pick-me-up when it comes to paying for his own security. I mean, can you guys believe that? This was the top paid federal official. He made more than the freaking president of the United States. But again, I'm not trying to take sides here. All I am is incredibly surprised about this news, maybe even a little bit annoyed, just a little bit. But what about you guys? Do you think we should still be paying for this? Now, since we're already talking about security details and security, let's see what National Security Council spokesperson John Kirby has to say about the Secret Service efforts in finding out who actually owned the cocaine found in the White House recently.
Well, again, I can't really speak to the investigation that was done by the Secret Service. They did the best they could to track down how it got there and who it might have belonged to, and they were not able to come up with any forensic evidence that proves it. But of course, look, we take this seriously. That's not the kind of thing we want to see happen. Now, it did happen in a visitor's lobby area just outside the main West Wing, so it was a highly trafficked area. We're going to take a look at how that happened, and obviously if there's things we can do to prevent that in the future, certainly we'll do that. Nobody's happy about this.
So wait, hold up. The Secret Service gave up the investigation because they couldn't track whoever left it there, and now Kirby is saying that they're going to again look at how it happened. Now, if it's a highly trafficked area, you would think, at least to some extent, that there would be more cameras around, right? Who was the genius who thought, oh, this part of the White House? Yeah, a lot of people come through there, but it might be best to not have a CCTV or a camera there, because who wants to look at hours and hours of footage of people just walking through here? I mean, come on, guys. Who's buying this crap? But maybe I'm just being too critical here. What do you guys think about this? Tell you what, if you think that the Secret Service actually knows who owns the coke, leave a like. And if you think that they're hiding it for us, then make sure you're subscribed to the channel. But if you think otherwise, just go ahead and comment that below. Now, the Biden administration finally has a much needed win in a federal court temporarily pausing the limitation on executive branch officials and their communication with social media companies regarding free speech. Because who needs to have an opinion, right? Now, you gotta wonder, why are they so focused on this thing? It's not like we have other things going on in our country, right? But just to clear things up, this lawsuit that initially banned the federal government from communicating with social media platforms directly stemmed from the possibility that the government could pressure these companies into removing anything that they deem to be misinformation based on what they believe, ultimately trying to determine what you believe. Do you guys think that that's fair and just for everyone? Now, again, Just to give you guys a better idea of what they deem to be misinformation, here's a few examples. C-19 vaccines and the opinion of a lot of doctors, the legal issues of first son Hunter Biden, election fraud allegations, and more. Now, if it was up to me, and this is just thinking out loud here, guys, I don't think that the federal government should have a say in what goes up online. That should be a place where opinions and free speech should be honored. And I'm not saying like every single opinion is right, but I don't think that any of us have the right to take that freedom away from anybody else. That's all I'm saying. And the same goes for anybody who's in the White House, be it the president, President Biden, Trump, Obama, Bush, Reagan. I can't think of any other presidents right now, but we should be afforded that freedom. But what about you guys? Should our government have a hold over our First Amendment? Now, in another win, the Coast Guard just seized around $158 million worth of cocaine and marijuana. Now, I bet the White House, or at least somebody in the White House, is pretty excited about that. Between the months of May and July, the U.S. Coast Guard was able to confiscate more than 11,600 pounds of cocaine and 5,500 pounds of marijuana in San Diego from 3 different vessels. Now, besides them, the Mexican Navy and multiple agencies from the Department of Defense and Justice and Homeland Security contributed to the huge drug bust. But it can't be all wins, right? So let's talk about a loss, and we're again stuck in the tracks of freight trains. What's going on with them again? Okay, I'm gonna give you guys like 3 seconds to think of what happened. 3, 2, 1. And yes, another train derailment with hazardous materials. What are the freaking chances, right? Homes had to be evacuated recently in Pennsylvania as a train that was carrying these materials derailed early in the morning. Now, it's been estimated that between 15 to 20 of the 40 cars CSX Norfolk Southern freight train was carrying this toxic stuff.
Start with that breaking news. More than a dozen train cars are scattered all along Norfolk Southern tracks in Montgomery County. The reason behind the derailment remains a mystery at this point. Action News reporter Corey Davis is live near the scene of the derailment in White Marsh Township. Good morning.
I want to give you a look there at live video from Chopper 6. So once again, that CSX freight train, it derailed around 4:50 this morning in an area surrounded by Stenton Avenue, Joshua Road, and Flowertown Road here in White Marsh Township. White Marsh Emergency Services officials say there have been precautionary evacuations, no mandatory evacuations, just precautionary of families and businesses closest to the scene. It is not believed that any further evacuations will be needed at this time. So preliminary info is to us right now is showing that 15 to 20 train cars are off the tracks out of about 40 cars or so. Some box cars are derailed, as well as those tanker cars that usually carry some type of liquid or maybe chemicals, but it's unclear what's exactly inside. We have those seen crews out there walking by the tankers without any mask or hazmat suits. Some of them include CSX train workers as well.
Man, oh man, we want to go all electric, but we can't even keep these trains in check right now. So here's a question I bet none of them even have an answer for. Why do these trains keep derailing? And don't tell me it's because of anyone else or policies, because we've seen far too many of these, and it just feels like there's absolutely no plan to fix it. Or maybe not fixing it is the plan. What are your thoughts on that? And while this next update isn't related, it can also be likened to an oncoming train crash. That is, if you're Hunter Biden. Why? Well, because a former FBI supervisory agent has just confirmed key details of an alleged cover-up as described by IRS whistleblower Gary Shapley. Now, Shapley has said that both the Secret Service headquarters and the Biden transition team knew about the planned Hunter Biden interview, an interview that was part of an official investigation, at least according to Shapley. But since they were already tipped off about it, the plan went to nothing, and it was decided that it would be Hunter instead who would ultimately choose whether or not that he would call them in for an interview. Does that seem fair? Is this the smoking gun that House Oversight Committee Chair James Comer wanted all along? Or is it just the tip of the iceberg? What are you guys' thoughts on all this and all of today's updates for that matter? Please drop me a comment down below. I'd love to hear from you guys. Now, also, before I go, I just want to thank you guys so much for the love and support. Appreciate every single one of you. And if you own a home, make sure your home is protected. Get your free home warranty quote. You'll see a link in the description down below. Again, I really appreciate you guys. Thank you for the likes. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. And I will check you guys on the next one.